Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. How much more can I take? Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. How much more can I take? Give a nigga a break.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
I run the daycare center now.
And who gave you permission?
My boy Tampon Tim, aka the fraud father, gave us the green to open this here quality leering daycare. So we ran with it. The rest is history.
You realize the sign? It spells learning, not leering.
Well, this is the first thing the children learn. They see the sign and we test them with visual aids. This is how we teach.
Wait, I thought that in Minnesota, to be a licensed daycare, you're required to have a 15 square foot playground within 2,000 feet of the building.
It will pop up tomorrow morning. Don't worry about it.
You have all the documents, right?
There was a break-in, and they stole the documents, unfortunately.
How did they get in?
Well, they broke in through the wall. It was behind the water heater.
Okay, where are the kids, though? I didn't see any kids.
Because it is not our business hour right now.
It was easier to capture the leader of Venezuela than it was to find a kid in these daycares.
What?
So you're saying there's nothing fraudulent happening here?
There is no fraud. Wallahi la'azim. Zero fraud here. Tell him, baby.
Yeah, I understand fraud is bad.
Abdi, you cheated on me? I'm telling Mom.
No, Ilhan, baby, don't do this. Don't tell our mom.
Wow, a bunch of garbage.
Look at me.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are 55 points underwater. Their approval rating is south of 20%. It's even worse when you look at independents. Look at this. Negative 61 points. That means that their approval rating is 61 points lower than their disapproval rating. Quinnipiac has been polling this question for the better part of the 21st century. They have never found Democrats, at least those in Congress, in worse shape than they are right now.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American.
Okay, guys, I just got this. House Minority Leader, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries out of Brooklyn, has pulled together an emergency Democratic caucus meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern. The way I understand it, we don't know the agenda, we don't know the topics, but all members are going to get on, and this is coming as Congress is supposed to come back in to Washington this week and work on issues as the president has occupied Venezuela. Taking over, running the government, taking over its oil. And guess what? This also has an implication on immigration. Now, mind you, this meeting is going to be with the full Democratic caucus in the House. Everybody has different ideas of how to approach things. We don't know how long the call is going to be, but we anticipate it's going to be a long call. We don't know what the topics are as yet, but the Democrats are very concerned with trying to move their items through with this hanging overhead, this occupation of Venezuela. Cuba is now bucking up, upset about what Donald Trump did with Venezuela. This has so many implications in so many areas. So I'll try to keep you updated as to what's going on. Yes, I'm driving. I just found this out, but trust me, I wanted to bring this to you right away. So I'll give you all the information as it comes. Stay tuned. Peace. Just 4 days into January. Talk to you soon.
Hit that like button for me, y'all. Hit that like button, guys. Thank you for coming out today. Big news day. Huge, gigantic, ginormous news day. First off, we have a shooting. We have a shooting in Minnesota, ICE-involved shooting. Not only did ICE have to fire their weapon in self-defense, but there was almost a little mini riot. They're about to insurrection Minnesota, y'all. Minnesota insurrection coming in 3, 2.
Get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. There's a lot of information that is swirling around right now, and we collectively are going to do everything possible to get to the bottom of this, to get justice, and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead, and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people.
I hate to break it to you, but your town is like a pimple that needs to be popped. We can't just wait for it to heal itself. That's not what's going to happen here. It's more like a tumor, actually.
So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible.
You know, it just hit me. It really just hit me. Between Jacob Frey and Tim Walz in Minnesota as the governor, Minnesota has the gayest men of all the 50 states. You would think it would be like Miami or California. No, it's Minnesota.
That nigga gay, nigga gay, nigga gay, nigga gay, nigga gay, nigga gay.
To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives, or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now. And justice is what we've all got to get. Next, a message to our community. Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love. We are going to meet that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait. that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants. They want us to respond in a way that creates a military occupation in our city. They want an excuse to come in and show the kind of force that will create more chaos and more despair. Let's not let them. Let's rise to this occasion. Let's show them something far more beautiful than the kind of division that they're trying to stoke. Let's show them unity.
Nah, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Take control. Take control of your city.
Of purpose, of love, and the courage of our conviction. Our conviction, to be clear, is rock solid, and it is for our neighbors, all of our neighbors. It's for people who have lived here for 80 years. It is for new immigrants who have made this city a better place. That's the kind of love that we're going to show up with right now. If you're angry, I get it. I am too. If you're feeling that kind of despair, it's understandable. Let's show them who we can be. Let's show up with peace. To march, to protest, to hug one another, to love all the way with peace.
You know, it's really crazy. Just the complete difference in energy. And Jacob Frey right now versus Trump the other day when they caught Maduro. I mean, Trump damn near crip walked on stage. It was just all glory, all just energy, swag. Like, what the hell are you gonna do? You know what I mean? And now you got this guy. He's like, we're gonna fight with love. All right. When Trump sends his thugs to come arrest us and break up our families, we're gonna hug it out like little bitches. It's just a totally radically different type of energy.
Do not give them what they want. Finally, you know, we've got a lot of work that needs to happen right now to make sure that, first, of course, the scene was secured as much as possible, that we were able to get the victim, now deceased, to the hospital. We've got a lot of work to do in the coming days. I want to thank our city enterprise for the work that they have done, but more importantly, what they're about to do, because this is going to be heavy and our city has been through a lot. We also know that we're prepared to do right for people. Among them is our chief of police. I'll invite him up.
My name is Brian O'Hara, BRIANO''HARA. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. This morning, Minneapolis police officers received a report of federal law enforcement being involved in a deadly force incident, meaning shots had been fired. Minneapolis police officers responded to the scene. We arrived and found a woman with a gunshot wound to the head. Life-saving measures were performed at the scene, including CPR. The woman was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, where she has since been pronounced deceased. The preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there. We have since turned over the scene both to the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which will be conducting an investigation into this use of deadly force. I want to thank the mayor, city council president, other members of the city council, state legislators that were on the scene. This has been a very difficult time for everyone in the city. And this is obviously a very, very tragic situation where a woman has lost her life. That being said, in addition to this tragedy, which unfortunately we did predict, we were seriously concerned about further escalation from the scene. And I want to thank the elected officials that came themselves to help us prevent that from happening, as well as the individuals on that scene that remained peaceful and that abided by law enforcement instructions so that we could preserve that scene and ensure that a full and transparent investigation can take place. That being
Yeah. That's all great. Let's take a look at the actual evidence, y'all. Let's take a look at the actual video.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
Life comes at you really fast. You got to keep up. You have to keep up. Life comes at you really, really fast, man. I'm trying to tell you. Maybe she should have complied. Is all I'm saying.
Get the fuck out of our neighborhood.
Could you imagine if that was a black person? Oh my God. What if that was a black person? Jesus Christ. They would have probably shot that person.
Get the fuck out of our neighborhood.
What the fuck? Dude, what the fuck?
Viewer discretion is advised.
You fucking Get back!
Go another way! Move! Go another way! Move! Go another way!
Move! You're going to have to just mass arrest a lot of people very aggressively. You know what? Honestly, you know what? Maybe you just give them billy clubs again. They should be able to hit people with blunt objects, you know? It'll be quicker. Plus, half of them got like helmets on. They'll be all right.
Nice fucking hook! Get out of the way! Get out! Chris, get out the way! Get out the way of the truck! Move! Fuck you! Fuck you, people! Fuck you! Nazis! 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 Hold on, wait. Bring back memories.
I love the smell of tear gas in the morning.
What are you doing to bring your families, man? You're breaking families,
Get out of their way. Get out of it. Hey, let the
You guys are breaking families, man. You can't be doing that.
Now, remember, everybody, and first off, shout out to the Majestic. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Please hit that like, share button. Please share the video. And if you can, throw $1 in the hat. Shout out to Majestic with the 5 ball. If protest chants change the world, this would be a magical place, really? A magical place, you tell me.
Nigga, please. Serious.
Now, I want you guys to understand this is all because a giant fraud scandal was uncovered in Minnesota. It's actually technically a national fraud scandal, pretty much focused and centered around the Somali community in particular. All across the country, the exact same type of crime, same type of fraud being committed by a particular ethnic group. And their largest, most densely populated region is Minnesota, which they claim was promised to them 3,000 years ago. It's all too much, y'all.
Against fraud. The performance audit shows the Behavioral Health Administration sent millions of dollars out the door in grants without making proper checks into who was receiving them. And that is not even the most jaw-dropping finding. Lou Raguse has tonight's top story. Lou?
Julie, according to the nonpartisan legislative auditor, this is another case of mismanagement of taxpayer money. But perhaps the most explosive revelation is that managers within DHS, the Department of Human Services, tried to cover their tracks by backdating and creating new documents.
But I do want to talk about what a serious issue this is and how it is, frankly, unacceptable.
Another sobering report by the Office of the Legislative Auditor, this one concerning the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants to providers treating mental health and drug and alcohol addiction, hundreds of millions of dollars each year. The audit found them issuing grants to applicants without a bidding process.
So what we saw is that there was multiple entities that could have been eligible, and they chose not to provide a justification for why they were picking those.
This report is quite stunning.
One outrageous example, the auditors found a grantee that was paid $672,000 for 1 month of work without any info on what they do. And the audit says the grant manager who paid it then left DHS a couple days later and became a paid consultant for that company.
To me, that's criminal.
Auditor Judy Randall says she was most shocked that during the audit, multiple DHS managers backdated or created new documents to try to cover their tracks.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it. And we did in this case. And it's very troubling.
Tipperary DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi's response.
I was shocked to hear this information in the exit conference, and it is absolutely unacceptable that any staff would provide anything other than accurate representation of the work done to an auditor.
Now, there were a lot of questions from lawmakers about whether this audit should result in criminal investigations.
Well, duh, of course it should. And shout out to Laughing Dog with the 5 ball. You said Brother Ike Mel has the video from Papa Angel. Got him. I just shot you a wrench, bro. Throw me the link to that video. If you can find a link to that video, post it in the chat, bro. Help a brother out, man. Thanks for supporting the show.
I need that money.
So we'll see what comes from that. The Office of the Legislative Auditor provides recommendations both to the department and to lawmakers in case law changes are needed. Just one more time of what the auditor said regarding this fabrication of documents. She called it a systemic problem within DHS.
I mean, Lou, it just seems like every time you think it can't get worse, it does. I do think this is jaw-dropping. You mentioned that they were talking about criminal investigations. I think I speak for a lot of people watching right now who really want there to be some kind of accountability. Did you get any sense from that meeting today or in talking to any of your sources that there actually will be accountability?
Well, no, that's something that's going to require some follow-up, because one problem the auditors had is they didn't have subpoenas to issue to people that no longer work for the BHA within the DHS. And so they couldn't bring those people in and question them. And so it would take an outside agency such as law enforcement to look into it.
The problem in Minnesota is it's so huge that you're going to have to effectively occupy the entire state, at least the capital and maybe the major cities. You're going to have to occupy a lot of the state to really get down to the heart of a lot of what's happening here.
Now, talk about people like Ilhan Omar and her influence here on the Somalian community. What influence does she have on what happens here?
Well, she's a key reason that we have so many Somalis here. She was a big proponent of drawing them in because once she realized how loose the regulations were here on all of this money, this welfare money, this assistance payments, she started bringing the Somalis in, and they came in from all around the country. So not only were they coming from Somalia, they were coming from Texas and Florida, New York, and everywhere else, because the word went out, you got to come to Minnesota because it's open season here. And so that's why, and they're still coming here, and they're still gonna get money. And so Ilhan Omar is, I mean, she's the godmother of the Somalis.
And so whatever she says goes.
Yes.
And you keep referring that Somalians don't move alone. If one of them moves, 10 of them move.
Yes.
So that's how they're able to multiply and almost compound here as far as their populations.
And so the idea is that they want to repopulate as quickly as possible. So that's why all these Muslim women you see, they're always pregnant all the time. Because when you have all these children, now you can start to overtake a city, a society, and now you run for school board, you run for office. We had a Somali guy, I couldn't believe he didn't get elected mayor of Minneapolis, but Jacob Fry, who was elected mayor, he's even worse. He bows down to the Somalis, he tries to speak their language. It's embarrassing.
And so these Somalis, they're Muslim.
You have to understand, their plan is to literally fight you with numbers, all right? Their women understand that their main job is to outbreed you. They will suffer now. They will hide in the background now. They will keep their power level hidden for now. But eventually you will be surrounded and outnumbered, and you won't even notice it until it's too late.
And Muslims are able to have 4 wives. And
Yes.
they're able to have, I don't know, I doubt there's a cap to how many kids you can have, but by having 4 wives, you're able to have more kids than a person with just 1 wife.
Yes.
And so obviously they're going to multiply and compound inside of Minnesota. So who knows what Minnesota will look like in 50 years from now?
If this doesn't stop, Minnesota's done. It will be Somalia.
Like, we know the fraud attracted them, but initially what attracted them to come here? Because a lot of them came underneath Obama with what was happening in Somalia. A lot of refugees were taken into the United States. What attracted them to come straight to Minnesota? It's freezing up here.
I think part of the reason was that the churches, especially the Lutheran Church, got involved with bringing over a lot of refugees. And it started back with the Hmong population, which was very large in St. Paul. And I was happy to have them here. They worked, they opened businesses. They were good community members. They're good citizens. And so I think they leaned on the churches to say, hey, we need to bring these people over because they're refugees. They're fleeing conflict. What conflict? I mean, they're always at conflict. They're tribal people. They're always at war. Bringing them over here doesn't cure that. All it does is bring those problems over here.
When they were initially brought over, did you think, as they were initially brought over as refugees, was there a plan for them to eventually go back to Somalia?
No, I think the plan was that once they got here and they had their hand out and the state started putting money in, they said, I'm not going anywhere. And you're right, they hate the cold weather because it gets really cold here. But when you're getting $1 million a year, you can live through the winter.
And Trump, in a press conference, he was talking about how all they do is complain. He said the word bitch, all they do is bitch. And they complain. If they're coming from paradise, then they could complain, but they're coming from garbage, is what Trump said. And they're then complaining. How come you think some people that fled a place that was so horrible now come here to the United States and they continue to complain and play victim to the point where they call, if you don't support what they're doing, they call you an Islamophobe, they call you racist, to the point where eventually everyone's kicked out of an apartment complex and it's full of just one race. Doesn't that make them racist?
You have no idea what's coming. Now is the time to launch your crusade. I'm telling you. If you wait any longer, it will be too late.
And I said it from the start. This is advanced darkness. This is Heart of Darkness. This is the jungle drum. This is the fertility goddess of chaos. They're literally going to eat your balls. They're going to cut your fucking nuts off and eat them.
Whoa, what? They're gonna what?
My name is Mohammed. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Somali community in Lewiston. Some of you sitting here today, we voted for you. We elected you to protect our community interests, not creating division or go after one elected member from our community. This narrative, if this narrative continues, our community will be forced to re-examine our relationship or political relationship, including our relationship with the Democratic Party and who will be voting in the future. This is not a threat. My name is Mohammed. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Somali community in Lewiston. Some of you.
We just left the hearing for the fraud in Minnesota. You spent the majority of your time speaking about President Trump and the so-called
I'm not
fraud
Father
in
Muhammad.
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and accused Trump of stolen valor against RFK for renaming the Kennedy Center. Do you think that is the primary focus over what is happening in Minnesota and the rampant fraud that is being exposed
It's
there?
a hearing on fraud.
Sorry?
It's a hearing on fraud.
So you think
So the jurisdiction of the committee is to root out fraud wherever it occurs, whether it's, the billions of dollars that Trump is getting from his crypto operation with his son and his special envoy to the Middle East, or any other way that he's using. You heard a whole litany of cases that Mr. Ballou offered, surrounding the inauguration, how people had got pardons and then had donated to the president, or had attended a dinner with the president for $1 million, and then their son got a pardon in the next week or 2 weeks. So clearly, there's a lot of fraud going on. So it's our responsibility to go after all of it. Yeah. And the example of the Kennedy Center is self-explanatory. He had nothing to do with that, right? President Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy raised all the money for that. President Eisenhower did a little bit, but he was on his way out. So they're the ones that really, built that place, and Congress and President Johnson were kind enough to name it after Kennedy. I'm sure Trump will have things named after him, and, that's fine. But
He really wants to accuse President Trump of fraud behind whatever the hell he's talking about.
let everybody get the credit, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. As far as the fraud in Minnesota, though, I mean, the other three testifying have largely said that Walz is to blame in all of this, that, he more or less not only swept the corruption under the rug, but allowed it to continue knowingly.
That's what the hearing's about, to bring all the evidence. So I understand they're going to bring some other witnesses as well to talk about these are legislators, obviously. One of them is running for one of the positions. So I kind of take her testimony with a grain of salt, but they will bring, and actually, I think we should do this nationally. Every single state, we should look, because this might be going on in a whole bunch of other states. If it could be systemic, so it's a real issue, and we should get after it. But I do know that there's problems down in Mississippi, and they're being ignored. So
now I want you guys to move on to the actual hearing about fraud in Minnesota. We're going to look at highlights from the hearing. It was a lot today, but the highlights were amazing. A lot of great moments came out of this whole thing today. Hit that like button for me,
Which are
guys.
funded by you, the American. Good morning. Today, the House Oversight Committee is holding its first hearing on the massive fraud in Minnesota's social services program. Minnesota's social services, which are funded by you, the American taxpayer, are being ripped off. The most vulnerable are suffering as a result. Federal prosecutors estimate that these criminals have stolen at least $9 billion. The fraudsters, many of whom are from Minnesota's Somali community, have stolen from programs meant to feed needy kids, provide services to autistic children, house low-income and disabled Americans, and provide health care to vulnerable Medicaid recipients. Fraudsters like these take millions to enrich themselves while providing nothing, overstating or outright faking the services.
Crockett is
How
coming
many
up
children
too.
have gone hungry because fraudsters stole
Crockett
money
and
that was
Presley
intended to
went off
provide them with
today.
food? How many autistic children were denied services because fraudsters instead sent this money overseas? How many low-income seniors, people with disabilities, or those with mental illnesses were denied access to housing because fraudsters drained resources and pocketed the money for themselves? The breadth and depth of this fraud is breathtaking. And I fear that this is just the tip of the iceberg. The U.S. Department of Justice is already investigating another Minnesota service program after a disabled man battling drug addiction under the care of a fraudulent full-time provider died because of neglect. Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and Minnesota's Democrat leadership have either been asleep at the wheel or complicit in these crimes. How could they allow this massive fraud to go on for years? This is why we're here today. We must expose this theft of taxpayer dollars and hold everybody accountable who let it happen. Today, we're joined by witnesses from Minnesota State House of Representatives who have been fighting this fight for years. These legislators are on the front lines, uncovering fraud in Minnesota's social services programs day in and day out, and trying to get their state agencies to fix it. Thank you all for what you're doing to uncover the truth. This isn't just a Minnesota problem. It's a problem for taxpayers across the United States. About 35% of Minnesota's budget comes from federal grants. 35% of Minnesota's budget comes from federal grants. Hardworking Americans pay those taxes, and that money is being funneled to fraudsters, funding luxury homes, fancy cars, and vacations abroad. Some of it is even allegedly going overseas to support terrorists. And yet, Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, and Minnesota Democrats failed to act despite countless warnings. They failed Minnesotans and all Americans, handing millions of taxpayer dollars to fraudsters. They failed children and others in Minnesota. They failed their own state employees, some of whom have come forward as whistleblowers. These whistleblowers have told us that the Walz administration retaliated against employees who warned and alerted the administration to the fraud occurring within these social services programs. Again, Governor Walz accused employees who were simply doing their jobs of racism, Islamophobia, and threatened surveillance to silence them. President Trump and his administration are taking a whole of government approach and prosecuting these fraudsters. To date, the U.S. Department of Justice has charged 98 defendants in Minnesota fraud-related cases, 85 of whom are of Somali descent. 64 have already been convicted. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is on the ground conducting investigations of suspected fraud sites in Minnesota. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has frozen child care payments and started requiring documentation to prove entities are indeed providing child care. Other federal agencies are halting grant programs, investigating public housing fraud, and strengthening program eligibility requirements. The American people demand jail time for those who stole their hard-earned money and accountability for officials who sat by as resources were drained. Congress must ensure there is change and accountability so this does not happen again. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today. Americans, thank you all for exposing this critical issue. And with that, I yield to Ranking Member Garcia for his opening statement.
Salim Saeed and Amy Bach. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hudson, who is Salim Saeed and Amy Bach?
I recognize those names as defendants in the Feeding Our Future trial.
They ran Feeding Our Future, is that right?
That's correct.
And they've been indicted?
That's correct.
They've been convicted?
That's correct.
And they're in jail waiting sentences, is that right?
As I understand it.
Okay, I want to go back because earlier with Mr. Gill, you said that they overlooked the fraud. I think it's worse than that. I think they helped it along. I'm going to go to this meeting that took place Or actually, I want to go to March 30th, 2021. Is it true back in March of 2021, the Minnesota Department of Education suspended payments to Feeding Our Future, that program? Is that right?
I believe that's correct.
And then a month later, they resumed payments.
That's correct.
What caused them to change their mind?
In my opinion, what caused them to change their mind was pushback from their constituency within the Somali community who accused the state agencies of being racist.
But what caused them to stop it in the first place? Was it whistleblowers coming forward? Was it like this something's not right here? What happened?
Apologize for the misunderstanding. The reason they stopped the funds in the first place is because they had credible allegations that there was fraud taking place.
From whistleblowers and others.
Correct.
And just they're doing their job looking, this doesn't make sense. We got all these programs, no one's getting fed, and yet money's going out the door like crazy. So they suspended it. And then they started it back up, right? Was there any threat of a lawsuit from the Somali community and folks affiliated with Feeding Our Future?
Mr. Jordan, there was more than a threat. They actually did.
They did? And what was the alleged claim in that lawsuit?
That they were victims of racial discrimination.
Oh, they played the race card, huh? All this fraud going on, money going out, and they played the race card. Now, it was when I talked about not just overlooking it, there was a meeting that took place between the Attorney General and affiliates of Feeding Our Future. Is that right?
That is correct.
And what happened at that meeting? Do we know?
Yeah, we do, because we have it on tape. There was an audio recording made at that meeting that was entered into evidence in the Feeding Our Future trial, and it was later revealed through work from Center of the American Experiment, the full recording. And my observations of what took place in that meeting was that Attorney General Keith Ellison was focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was keeping these folks in business. There were no questions that he asked of these folks about how the kids are doing, the operation, how they're getting fed, who's being helped. Instead, the focus was entirely on ensuring that the money continues to flow. And I'll add that he went so far as to say that he was going to fight these people in reference to the state agencies. The state agencies are his client.
Yeah. And when you said money's going to flow, did money flow to Mr. Ellison's campaign a couple weeks later from some of the folks who were in that meeting?
Sure did.
How much, do we know how much that was?
I do not have that number.
So it wasn't just overlooking the fraud. They were actively trying to make sure this program continued, and then they benefited from that politically with contribution to their campaign, all in this same year, all in 2021, when this was all coming to a head. Is that accurate?
That is my understanding.
And this fraud is much bigger than this, because as I look, it's like 6 different federal agencies. Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, Small Business Association, Housing Urban Development, Department of Labor, Department of Agriculture, in this program and a bunch of others. They were shaking down the entire federal government, it looked like. 6 different federal agencies. I think you pointed out, over the last 15 years.
That's correct.
And not only are the Democrat administration overlooking it, they're helping it along. They're assisting it. They're going after whistleblowers, as your colleague pointed out, and they're benefiting from all this politically with contribution to their campaign, not to mention the voting issue that you referenced earlier as well. Is that all accurate?
I believe so.
Oh, now there's more than 6 agencies involved. There's 6 federal agencies that got shaken down, but there's 2 other agencies involved now, the FBI and the DOJ, right? How many people have been indicted now?
I do not have that number in front of me, but it's significant.
And I don't know how long y'all been in the legislature. We appreciate your work, appreciate what you do. But have you ever seen anything like this in your time in the legislature? I've never seen anything like this in an AT. Miss Robbins, you.
You remember Keith Ellison is actually Obama's guy. This fraud thing is going to blow a gigantic hole in the entire Democrat Party. This is so huge. The Democrat Party, they're going to have to start a civil war just to save themselves. They're willing to go. Remember the government shutdown? Even the government shutdown was connected to the welfare fraud from illegal immigrants, because they've blown so much money that they can't cover their own bills now.
I want to talk about use of funds. You've talked about some of these funds were used to buy property in Kenya,
Yes, sir.
property in Turkey. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Remittances back to Somalia.
Yes.
I think it's important for the committee to understand that these remittances in part are used in what's called the Hawala. I want to make sure I have the terminology right. The Hawala network. Ms. Robbins, can you speak to what the Hawala network is?
Yes. So it's an informal network where someone goes to a Hawala
place in Minneapolis, which is like a money exchange or a money sending site, and they say, I want to send X amount of dollars. And then there's a receiving site in Somalia, and they put the cash, take the cash out. So money doesn't cross the border. It's an order for money here that gets transmitted to Somalia.
For the time, because I'm out of time, I want to expound. In Somalia and other parts in the Middle East region writ large, a Hawala network is a bunch of money exchangers, hand to hand, not bank account to bank account.
Exactly.
And what is clear in Somalia and other parts is that Al-Shabaab, the largest Al-Qaeda affiliate in Somalia, they have their hands all through this network. So taxpayer money, United States dollars that are being remitted into Somalia in parts have been utilized or have fell into the hands of Al-Shabaab. Do you think that's a correct assessment?
Yes, we have plenty of evidence of that, from money directly going to Al-Shabaab, but then also indirectly because they take a cut of whatever gets sent to Somalia.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I know I'm over. Thank you for the additional time.
Damn. So Al-Shabaab, they take a cut off of everything that comes in anyway, and money was going directly to them. They were just rolling in the deep, y'all. It's crazy.
About could exceed the size of GDP in Somalia, the size of its economy is what we're talking about. So let that sink in, the amount of fraud we're talking about. My first question is this, Mr. Balyu, this afternoon. Should Somalians in Minnesota be required to speak English, their citizens? Yes or no? Should they be required to speak English if they're American citizens?
I think that question is really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry, is English the official language of the United States? It's a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted
That's
again
not a
by
valid
another.
parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to
Is
reclaim
that
my
a
time,
citizenship
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time.
she's
That
asking
seems
the
to be a
witness-
popular
she's asking-
theme
Not a
today.
valid, that's not a valid inquiry.
First off, Nancy Mace went like high level, ultra sane Karen today. And second of all, there's a weird looking black chick way behind her.
It's a point of inquiry.
Women have a right to speak in this committee. Conservative women have the right to speak here and not be interrupted by my male colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I would like to reclaim my time. But I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
What's going on right there? What color is that hair? Is that purple lipstick? What is that back there? It's like a female boogeyman.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Balyu?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you
Minnesotans
commit
are
fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
A
Ms.
billion?
Mays,
9 billion? 19 billion? What would it take for you?
most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right. And the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah. So under U.S. law,
Okay,
the
my next
basis-
question for
Excuse me,
you
Can I please finish the
is,
question?
no, you can't because you're not answering the question. My next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? If you
Again,
commit immigration fraud, yes or no?
Again, that question seems really inappropriate.
What would be inappropriate? That's like a policy question, right? You're not allowed to marry your brother. That is like lying on your immigration application or whatever.
And if I can get
Well, you
back to
can't
your
answer my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
Absolutely, yes. But again, this is
You didn't name one. All right. So my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I heard some discussion earlier about Al-Shabaab and the discovery that you believe some of this money that was defrauded the U.S. government went to Al-Shabaab. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes, it's been
How
proven.
much money are we talking about?
You know, we don't have an amount. So there's been specific cases where it's been charged where we have an amount, but then of the millions that go to Somali over the years in remittances, a portion of that we understand is taken as sort of a tax or corruption by Al-Shabaab when it enters the country.
Can you explain to us who Al-Shabaab is?
It's a terrorist organization in Somalia.
And they're affiliated with Al-Qaeda, is that right?
My understanding is they are.
I am on the DNI website where it tells me that since 2014, Al-Shabaab has killed more U.S. citizens than any other Al-Qaeda affiliate. And as of 2025, Al-Shabaab, this group is Al-Qaeda's wealthiest component. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And that American tax dollars through Minnesota, through Governor Tim Walz, who shamefully had to resign from his reelection the other day. Thank you to the young YouTuber Nick Shirley. This is the kind of thing that was happening in Minnesota. So I praise the Republicans who are here today from the Minnesota State Legislature exposing this fraud. And then, Ms. Robbins, when do you think Tim Walz became aware of the fraud?
I think he's been aware of it since the beginning. This was a huge issue in our state in the year he ran for governor, and the OLA reports came out first identifying the childcare fraud in March and April of 2019 when he was in the first months of his term.
Was Keith Ellison in on it too, knowledgeable, the Catholic turned Muslim guy in Minnesota?
Yes, they were all newly in office, and this was very public knowledge in Minnesota.
What role do you think Tim Walz and Keith Ellison played, his administration, in delaying investigations into the fraud?
So I've outlined several things where they stopped our ability to strengthen internal controls, and they also shut down the criminal investigations by the OIG and DHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I do have two articles, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to ask unanimous consent. This one on foxnews.com, Minnesota fraud probe will expand to other states. And then on house.gov, legislators blast DHS for revelations it had contracts with feeding our future fraudsters.
Without objection to
Thank you,
order,
Mr. Chairman.
Somebody else seek recognition.
Let me ask you, does large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir. Could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority.
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%. So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using
non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, when you're using the phrase native Minnesotans, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somalis.
And nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here. So again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, how many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half. The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again, I keep trying
to. It doesn't sound like something that makes our country stronger to me, and I think most Americans would agree with me on that.
Whip Emmer, Representatives Finstad, Fishback, and Stauber of Minnesota are waived on the committee for purpose of questioning the witnesses at today's hearing. Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman,
Chair
I
now
seek
recognizes-
recognition to make 2 motions for subpoenas.
I was going to recognize the whip, but if you have a motion or state your,
I'd like to
Yeah.
make a motion to subpoena Neville Singham, a U.S. billionaire with reported ties to the CCP that's been funding extremist organizations, fueling division and civil unrest in this country, especially regarding the ICE riots last summer, as well as I'd like to make a motion to subpoena the ADL CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt, for stifling free speech by listing the phrase America First as hate speech and Turning Point USA as a hate group.
a motion has been made. The committee will hold this motion in abeyance until the end of the committee hearing. The committee will now proceed with today's hearing.
On a point of order, Mr. Chairman, will we get a written copy of that? Because that was a lot to go through.
Okay, yeah, we'll work with Representative Luna and get a copy.
Thank
you. All right. Chair now recognizes Majority Whip from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, for holding this important hearing. As I said on Monday, good riddance to Governor Walz, but he cannot escape accountability for the estimated $9 billion in fraud. How did this happen? And where the hell has the Twin Cities media been? The Star Tribune is complicit. They have had this story for years, if you just heard, and they've refused to report anything on it. In fact, they continue to try and cover up. Our Minnesota Republican colleagues have demanded answers and accountability for years, but have seen nothing from Walz, his administration, our Democrat colleagues like Tina Smith, Amy Klobuchar, Ilhan Omar, and Angie Craig, or the worthless Star Tribune. Thank God for President Donald J. Trump for finally bringing attention to this issue. Representative Rarick, I'm going to begin with you. You've been working on this issue for years. You've spoken to the whistleblowers personally. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You have an understanding that 1,000 whistleblowers running an account on X have come forward to expose fraud in Minnesota state agencies, and they have been entirely ignored by Tim Walz and have even been retaliated against. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Even this morning, I got another message.
Well, in your experience, are their claims credible or are they politically motivated against Walz?
They're completely credible, not politically motivated.
In fact, many of these are Walz administration employees, correct?
They are actually Democrats as well.
Can you quickly give us one example of the retaliation these folks have been facing?
Yes, I can. In my opening statement, I mentioned that the most severe ones was that they would be fired with cause, so they couldn't have unemployment insurance, that they would be blacklisted from all state agencies, and I bet that it's also Hennepin County and Ramsey County, as you know, those are Democrat run, and much, much more.
Based on what you've learned, Representative, over the last several years, do you have any doubt that Governor Tim Walz knew about this fraud as it was occurring?
He absolutely knew that it was occurring.
Thank you. The Housing Stability Services Program was estimated to cost about $2.6 million per year, but before it was shut down last October, it was on track to run about $122 million in 2025. In fact, I think they sucked $161 million out of it from the point it started in 2020 until it was finally shut down. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. And Joe Thompson believes that 90% of that was fraud.
Yeah. The Quality Leering Center, as uncovered by Nick Shirley, received almost $10 million in funding. Is that accurate?
I believe it is.
There are more than 80 autism centers in Minnesota under investigation. Is that true?
I believe it is, yes.
It's clear that someone is criminally complicit. You can't just let this amount of money get out of your administration over a period of 7 years without knowing. There was a hearing in the state regarding the fraudulent housing stabilization program, but before that hearing, Governor Walz fired the official who was slated to testify so that they could not testify and expose what was happening under Governor Walz's watch. Has Governor Walz or Attorney General Ellison fired anyone else to your knowledge, Representative?
Not to my knowledge, and that was Eric Rumdahl, and his administration believes that he was not fired, but I say he was fired because it was too convenient.
Right. Representative Hudson, is it true that 90% of the individuals charged, regardless of what your colleague on the panel just said with his facts and figures, 90% of the individuals charged or indicted with the $250 million Feeding Our Future COVID fraud are of Somali descent?
I believe that to be correct.
Are you aware that in a 2021 video, Mr. Ellison promised that he would obstruct his own agencies in their investigation of Somali fraud?
I am very much aware of that.
It's no wonder that criminals in the Somali community felt they were free to steal taxpayer dollars. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Marion. Do you have any doubt that Tim Walz knew about this fraud as it was occurring?
None whatsoever.
Walz and Ellison were protecting fraudsters instead of investigating them, and it was purposeful. And it's no coincidence that this is occurring largely in the Somali community. Walz made a sanctuary state, Minnesota, a sanctuary state. He gave free health care, free college, and free licenses to illegals. And Walz looked the other way when Somali immigrants were stealing. Representative Robbins, do you have any doubt that Tim Walz knew about this fraud as it was occurring?
None whatsoever.
So all three of you have no doubt in your minds that Tim Walz knew about the $9 billion of fraud during his tenure as governor and did nothing about it. It looks like my time is about to expire. And I do want to say to all of you, on behalf of Minnesota, thank you for being here, and justice will be served. Thank you, Mr.
And their collective message has been completely consistent. Instead of focusing on fraudsters, DHS leadership instead focused its surveillance on employees. Since then, their expressed fear of retaliation has intensified under an avalanche of fraud in Minnesota. Their numbers have grown from 480 DHS employees, both current and former, to over 1,000 across multiple state agencies. They have told me repeatedly how grateful they are to the House Fraud Prevention Committee for focusing our attention on fraud in the state programs, using their inside information while keeping them completely protected. They have explained that they live in a constant state of fear of retaliation. One only has to look at what happened to Faye Bernstein to understand why. In a very recent Newsweek article dated December 13th of 25, Ms. Bernstein, a former compliance specialist, stated, Minnesota DHS functions in the opposite manner as you would think. Employees who suggest improvements or, heaven forbid, report fraud then face significant retaliation. The messenger is shot. In 2019, Bernstein said she alerted Minnesota DHS officials to sloppy contracting practices that were not legally compliant. But it's not what most people would even consider fraud. She says she was later escorted out of the building, faced lengthy investigation, got trespassed from all DHS owned and leased properties, and received involuntary transfer to another state agency. So she says,
I want to jump over to Tim Walz real quick. Apparently, he actually did activate the National Guard.
Commissioner Bob Jacobson, Colonel Schaefer of the Minnesota National Guard, and Colonel Bogojevic of the Minnesota State Patrol. This morning, we learned that an ICE officer shot and killed someone in Minneapolis. My deepest condolences to the family, to the loved ones who had to learn about this tragic event on national television. We have been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life. I've reached out to Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and I'm waiting to hear back. Let me be clear. Donald Trump and his administration may not care much about Minnesota. That's been pretty evident. But we love this state. We won't let them tear us apart. We'll not turn against each other. To Minnesotans, I say this. I feel your anger. I'm angry. They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully, as you always do. We can't give them what they want. The hearts and minds of the people in this state are on our side. To Americans, I ask you this, please stand with Minneapolis. To Minnesotans, know that our administration is going to stop at nothing to seek accountability and justice. The State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension are working on the investigation. We have activated the State Emergency Operations Center. State Patrol and Minnesota National Guard leadership is connected with the Minneapolis Police Department, the St. Paul Police Department, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, the DNR, and Minnesota's Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We have activated dozens of members of the State Patrol's mobile response team. And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough.
This is like a declaration of war. Did he not see what happened to Maduro? Did he forget already?
There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans.
Oh, teachers and 7-Eleven workers, gas station attendants, really? Librarians, probably. Couple of accountants, maybe.
Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information. Now I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Bob Jacobson of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor mentioned, my name is Bob Jacobson. It is my honor to serve as the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. First of all, I want to acknowledge the reason that we are all here. The loss of life is not anything anyone would ever want. We fully expect that the community will want to peacefully demonstrate their anger or frustration. Minnesota residents and visitors have the right to peacefully demonstrate. We recognize that demonstrations are often driven by strong emotions, beliefs, and certainly a desire to be heard. Our role is to help ensure everyone can express themselves without anyone getting hurt. The Minnesota Department of Public Safety's role through the Minnesota State Patrol is to ensure safety, protect constitutional rights, keep roads accessible, and above all, to prevent harm. Our top priority is public safety. Our focus is keeping demonstrators, community members, drivers, and law enforcement safe, especially during moments of heightened tension or uncertainty. Demonstrations must remain safe and lawful, particularly around roadways. We will join with our partners to support safety while respecting the right to protest. With that in mind, I'd like to share a few safe and lawful ways to demonstrate. Minnesotans can safely and legally express their views in many ways, including getting together peacefully with others in public spaces, marching or walking, not on roadways, making your voice heard through chants, speeches, and displaying signs, being present in public areas where pedestrians are allowed, gathering in designated or permitted areas, and these actions will allow people to express themselves while protecting the safety of everyone involved. Unsafe or illegal actions could result in fines or arrests. Certain behaviors create serious hazards that threaten public safety, disrupt emergency services, or put people at risk. These actions could result in fines or arrest. Demonstrating on or entering a freeway on foot, walking on highways, throwing objects, starting or setting fires, damaging property or graffiti, using illegal fireworks, displaying or using illegal weapons, reckless or dangerous driving, especially near pedestrians, and certainly assaultive, aggressive, or riotous behavior toward anyone. We all want definitive answers to what happened today. Our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is working in conjunction with the FBI to investigate this morning's shooting. As you know, we don't comment on active investigations, But also keep in mind that this is an investigation is also in its infancy. So any speculation about what had happened would be just that. And we will not engage in speculation. With that, I will turn it back over to the governor. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. We'd be glad to take any questions. Yeah, and I can let General Schaefer talk about this. It so happens it's a training weekend. We've got about 7,500 troops in training at our sites, training sites across the state. What it is, and in the National Guard, you give a warning order, which is a heads up of something could be coming. That just allows people to think about what they would need, what it would mean to mobilize, what it would mean to put them in. And I could let the general talk a little bit about this. Obviously, since the summer of 2020, we had a lot of work done on teams being ready to make sure that civil unrest, and what that means, and I think Commissioner Jacobson was very clear, and I want Minnesotans to hear this from me. The desire to get out and protest and to speak up to this administration of how wrong this is, that is a patriotic duty at this point in time, but it needs to be done safely. And I think the commissioner simply just laid out some of those parameters. We can do that. This is the peaceful resistance that we need. Simon, you want to say a few things about what that means to have them on the ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. So for the military, Minnesota National Guard is comprised of 13,000 soldiers and airmen. We live all across and work throughout Minnesota. A warning order is just an initial step to increase your preparations. The Minnesota Guard is always prepared to respond and support state agencies and the citizens of Minnesota. So what that means for us today is just some additional checks on equipment that is ready at all times, and maybe some additional phone calls to service members who might be activated, but no activations. We are embedded with our state agencies here at the Operations Center to just continue parallel planning in the event that we are needed to support.
Thanks, Joe. And I would make note, Mary, and to Minnesotans on this about the National Guard, they're there to protect you and protect your constitutional rights. These are our neighbors. They don't wear masks. They don't bust in from somewhere else. They're not here to cause hassles to you.
And it needs to be stated very clearly, since we have already seen a video of it. I do not know as to what you're talking about.
Anna, can you tell us a little bit more about the mayor's message there, and also what Governor Tim Walz had to say just moments ago?
100%. The mayor and the governor are aligned. They did not want ICE to descend on their city. They were vocal about it, even leading up to the more than 1,000 ICE agents that went to Minneapolis. And our Nicole Scango was there with them yesterday. They didn't want that to happen. And so now politics are coming into play. Obviously, this was a horrific tragedy that didn't have to happen, but the governor and the mayor are saying that it's the fault of the ICE agents. Meanwhile, head of Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, is saying that the ICE agent acted in self-defense. President Trump has posted to Truth Social saying the same and describing a very different set of circumstances, describing the victim as having run over the agent. And all of that, as I mentioned earlier, is the subject of this investigation. We've seen a few angles. Investigators are going to look at more. They're going to interview eyewitnesses. They're going to be looking at and analyzing the tire marks in the snow, analyzing the bullet hole in the windshield. They're going to be analyzing the position. They're, of course, interviewing the agent that fired his weapon. And just a reminder as well that the rules of engagement for federal agents as well as local law enforcement agents is to respond reasonably to a perceived threat. So it has to be a reasonable action for it to be defensible. That's at the heart of the matter, and there's going to be a big fight about that going forward.
Anna Schechter, thank you so much. All right, let's bring in CBS News' Chanel Call, who's been going through the videos from the event in our newsroom in New York City. Chanel, what can you tell us about those? Well, Liz, you shared with our viewers earlier in the program that new and now verified video of the moment this happened, the moment that ICE agents shot and killed a woman who was in her car, who was driving away from federal agents in her neighborhood. We also have some new video to share with you of the aftermath of that moment. And I want to show you what we see here. So there are ICE agents sort of lining this residential street, and then you see them pulling a person out of the car. After that, it does appear as though they're trying to give that person CPR. Then they're seen carrying that person by their hands and feet. Now, we were there on the scene, and our local crew there spoke to a witness about what they saw and heard. Take a listen.
They were not allowing EMS to come with in timely manner. They were DHS and them. They were blocking the roads and not letting EMS come with like time and like the ambulance. They just kept the roads blocked for a very long time to the point the body has to like literally get carried out the way it did.
So, Liz, the big question now is what really happened in the moments that led up to that shooting? And Anna was talking about this as well. There are so much unknown factors right now, but we are hearing two very different accounts of what may have happened. I'll show you first on my screen here what DHS is saying and how they're characterizing this moment today. They said that riders began blocking ICE officers and that one of those violent riders weaponized her vehicle, they say attempting to run over law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them. And then Liz characterizes this moment as an act of domestic terrorism. Obviously, a very different picture than the one that we're hearing from folks on the ground that our local crews have been speaking to. Many witnesses are saying that is not what they believe happened. And then when we talk about the reaction on the ground there as well from law enforcement and local officials, law enforcement during that press conference this afternoon said, based on what they know and they understand, it does not appear that someone actually rammed anyone. The mayor of Minneapolis, you heard from him moments ago, again, calling this narrative that this was done in self-defense, a quote, garbage narrative. Back to you. Chanel Call, thank you so much. All right, let's get right to CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. He's live now with reaction from the White House to all of this. Aaron, the president is weighing in.
Minnesota is going through a whole lot right now, you guys. Minnesota has huge problems. I want to jump to something else real quick. This is really why the National Guard had to get called in.
And there'll be more videos. We're in a world with lots of videos, which is a good thing for getting to the truth.
Let's look at this live shot that we're seeing right now. We just saw some black vehicle vans moving their way through, and now you see snowballs flying in this group of individuals that are moving. You've got law enforcement in the front of this group that look like they're walking backwards, so they're being pushed, is the way it looks, backwards by protesters who are throwing snowballs at them right now. Let's bring in Victor Avila. Let's stay on this live shot as we bring in Victor, retired ICE special agent, now assistant director for the Office of National Drug Control Policy in the administration. Victor, thank you for being here. I don't know, can you see what we're seeing live on screen right now? Are you able to or not?
Yes, I can see it, Martha. And there'll be more videos. We're in a world with.
I want to bring in Mike Tobin because he's down there on the street where this is happening. Mike, give us a sense of what's happening right now.
Well, it seems to be what happened is that the law enforcement decided to pull out. And I've seen that before with different riots or protest situations where they decide to take the law enforcement out and remove the line. Remove the idea that these people have something to protest against. So as the law enforcement pulled out, the crowd of people came north in this direction. They're throwing a lot of objects. I don't know if you saw it in the video out there. One of the larger vehicles had windows broken out of it. So we saw a lot of objects being thrown, and the crowd here, again, we're ballparking at about 400 strong. By the way, I see some of the people with the black hoods and the face masks, indicative of Antifa. But that would be... you can never tell. They don't have a uniform. They don't carry cards when they're with Antifa. They just kind of dress that way from time to time. But what you have at the situation or at the scene here where the shooting happened, the crowd is largely dissipated. They're now marching north along the road where the shooting happened. So that's the scene. Law enforcement pulled out. They're now turning the standing protest into a march, Martha.
Well, thank you very much. Mike Tobin's on the scene.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Refusal to participate is not an
reclaiming my
expression.
time, reclaiming
Refusal
my time,
to participate
reclaiming my time. Do you
is
know
not
the
an
rules of
expression
committee?
one way or
Do you
the
know
other.
the rules of committee? This is my
I know
time.
that I am
Do
here
not speak
as a
over
member
me.
of the public.
Reclaiming my time. You are
that
not,
you
Mr. Chair.
serve.
Mr. Chair.
That's what I know.
You are not in order with the rules of the committee. This is my time. This is my time.
That's
I
our
ask the
dollars.
questions and you answer, but you're too much of a coward to answer. So we're going to move on. Now, yesterday was the 5-year anniversary, and I want to note of the January 6th insurrection. And on Donald Trump's first day in office, he pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists, including Brian Christopher Mock, who's from Minnesota. Are y'all going to say you don't know who that is? He's from Minnesota. Now, he kicked, shoved, and threw a flagpole at police officers, you know, law enforcement that you claim to support. And he did all of that in the name of fraud. He was an election denier. So an election fraud lie. Now, he claims he did these things in the name of patriotism, but really he's just a criminal. So raise your hand if you oppose Trump's pardon of this Minnesota individual.
Ma'am, this grandstanding nonsense
This is not grandstanding.
exactly
This is
what
accountability.
Minnesotans hate about
This
DC.
is accountability, and you are hypocrites. So again, I will take your
Thanks for
refusal to
demonstrating my opening
Mr.
statement.
Chairman,
Reclaiming
order,
my
decorum.
time.
She's off the
Reclaiming
rails.
my time. I'm not off the rails, please.
You are
Enough
totally
with your
off the
tropes.
rails.
Nancy,
Order.
enough
Off the
with your
rails.
tropes. Give me my time back.
Order, Mr. Chairman.
If Republicans were
come here to be
serious about
accused by
reclaiming
somebody who was supposed to serve me. You serve me and my constituents.
You have no time
You
left.
don't get to accuse me of things that
You're
change.
You're out of time.
Reclaiming my
You're out of
time.
time.
She's more
You're
time
out of
left.
time. We're done here. We're done.
Touch in on time.
At least
Mr.
10
Chair,
seconds.
she's out of time.
Time's
Restore
expired.
the
Out of
time.
order
My
and
time
out of
is
time.
expired.
Ms. Presley, you've
You all
already
are very
secured your
unserious.
MSNBC spot tonight.
I'm
Your
not
time's
I'm
required.
looking for
Chair
accountability,
recognizes Ms.
and you
Mace
want to
from
You're
run
gonna be
from
so
the
South
good on
Carolina.
MSNBC.
Chair
of your
recognizes
king
Ms. Mace.
and this administration.
Thank you, Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes Ms.
And
Mace.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. She's
Don't
going to be
care
a great
about
host on
hungry children. You wanna be
MSNBC.
cutting
This is
back?
my
I wouldn't
time.
want to jump
I
in front of
reclaim
Ms.
my
Mace if I
time.
were you, Ms.
I
Presley.
reclaim my time. This is my time.
I wouldn't want to interrupt Ms. Mace. It's her time. Chair recognizes Ms. Oh,
Mr. Chair, she
You're
did
out of
they
order.
kill her
not
mic.
get all of her time.
Mr. Chairman,
She wants to
still out of
insult us for
order.
10 more seconds.
What do
Your
we have
time
to
is
do to
expired.
get this
Chair-
woman in order?
Her time is expired. Chair recognizes
You're
Ms.
going to be
Mace.
great on TV. You're really good.
They muted her
No,
mic.
no, baby,
Uh-huh.
you're not. No, baby, you're not. You are not in order. You're out
No,
of order.
baby.
Goodbye. You're done.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, it's my
Chair
5
recognizes
minutes.
Ms.
White
Mace.
women are
We
back,
here.
y'all. Look at that. White women are so fucking back. You look at this shit. This crazy work happening here today.
Has decided. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure I level set because it seems like we want to continue to, especially as we just heard those particular articles entered into the record, we want to continue to just make it seem as if you are Somali, then somehow you are a fraudster. And this administration has decided that it wants a target on their backs. And so when my colleague, Ms. Randall, decided that she wanted to talk about the threats that are being made towards various Somali people, the reason she brought it up is because this particular side of the aisle has a tendency of if one person does something bad, especially if they are an immigrant, then we are going to cast aside that entire community. So I wanted to level set, and I appreciate your honesty because that's something that we very rarely get from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. In fact, if we want to talk about fraud, I got a lot of fraud that we're going to talk about because we're going to get into this, but I am very curious to hear, let me ask you, Mr. Ballou, are you aware of allegations that $50,000 in taxpayer dollars have been given to someone that is currently sitting in this administration by the name of Tom Homan? Are you aware? Okay, that's a yes.
I am.
Okay. And last I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong if you have different information, but he was given that $50,000 in exchange for being able to provide contracts and kickbacks to people as soon as Trump was going to get into office. The DOJ was actually investigating this, but as soon as Trump got into office, last I checked, he actually said, go ahead and throw away that case.
So it was a Department of Justice investigation, and he accepted the money from an undercover FBI agent in cash.
Are you aware as to whether or not we ever got that $50,000 back?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Are you aware as to whether or not this committee has decided to investigate that?
I'm not.
Are you aware as to whether or not any committee in Congress has decided to investigate the fact that we know that he took $50,000 from an undercover officer, and yet we still don't have that money, nor does he have any charges?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's get into it. We're living through the most corrupt presidential administration in American history, a $300 million ballroom, a $230 million payout from the Department of Justice because the president got his feelings hurt because he had to be investigated for being a criminal. Hundreds of thousands.
You know what's crazy? Black folk eat this shit up. Black folk really do eat this shit up. But all of this just to cover up this type of shit. This is what's happening at the same time she's trying to dodge the Somali fraud bill.
Okay, it looks like they are throwing snowballs as the officers are leaving. So again, I believe it was a state patrol, and we did see some MPD officers who were leaving that scene. Hennepin County telling us that their sheriff's deputies have not been on that scene, but it looks like as officers are leaving the scene, just having some protesters or bystanders, agitators throwing some snowballs at them as they leave. We saw this earlier.
We did. Yep, we saw this exact thing earlier, and this was targeted toward ICE agents at that particular time. But now, as you mentioned, this is MPD, BCA was on scene, the sheriff's department as well. And as this street is opening up here, you can see a lot of these protesters, these people in the community responding to this. And now we're having an aerial view here of what we have been seeing, what we did see earlier, and now it's once again, you can see them throwing some of those snowballs at those vehicles, some of which we can see have just drove off as well.
Yeah.
Back in Washington, just left the oversight hearing on Minnesota. I mean, this thing is crazy. You have the governor and his team going after whistleblowers, state employees trying to do the right thing in Minnesota to explain the fraud that was happening, to get it under control. And it looks like Governor Walz, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, Keith Ellison, not only did they know about it, they were trying to protect the fraud to continue. These fraudsters were donating campaign cash to the governor and the attorney general. The whistleblowers who were coming forward were threatened. Their jobs were threatened. Their careers were threatened. And then we find out that the fraudsters were buying property in Kenya and Turkey, sending money back to Somalia. The money going back to Somalia could potentially have fallen into the hands of Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda affiliates in Somalia. Absolute crazy stuff. And the funny thing is, I don't even think it's just Minnesota. I think we just found out about it in Minnesota. I think it's happening in other states too. And it may not just be the Somalian community, but other parts of the country where these programs, American people are just being defrauded. I think the bigger thing is we gotta up here, we gotta put real teeth into these spending items. If we're gonna put money into a lot of these programs, there need to be hard audit requirements, eligibility requirements. Obviously, there's criminal charges if there's wire fraud, but I think if you have elected officials who know about this stuff and we find out they know, they need to be brought up on conspiracy charges because they're defrauding the American taxpayer too. One thing I know about this town, there's always a new day and a new crazy here in Washington. I think that's why people are more frustrated than anything else, because there's no common sense here. And when you try to bring it and put into these bills, the Democrats don't want to hear it. The only time they ever want to talk about accountability is when it favors them politically, and that's really upsetting. Anyway, till next time.
Would agree with me on that. I need to move on. Ms. Robbins, when would you say we concretely knew that widespread welfare fraud was occurring in Minnesota?
There have been reports since 2009 from the Office of Legislative Auditor. I would say the credible reports on childcare fraud started surfacing 2011 to 2013.
So for over a decade.
Yes, sir.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From the very beginning. He was running for governor in 2018 when there were prosecutions going on, when there was an OLA report, active cases in the news all the time.
And what was the Walz administration's response?
They actually did nothing when they got into office, and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan had been on the committee in the legislature that had hearings on childcare fraud. And when they got into office, they did put $5 million into a little more money, but nothing changed.
But nothing. And let me ask you, Mr. Hudson, thank you for being here. Did those who commit this fraud, do they typically vote for Republicans or Democrats, in your opinion?
In my opinion, thank you for qualifying it like that, I would say they most definitely overwhelmingly vote for Democrats.
Do they typically donate to Republicans or Democrats?
Not to my knowledge. They don't donate to Republicans, they donate to Democrats, in my opinion, yes.
Got it. So would you say this is the Somali population is an important demographic for Democrats to win over politically?
Unquestionably.
Got it. And do you think it would have hurt Democrats' political standing with the Somali population to investigate this fraud?
Very clearly.
Got it. So in other words, you're saying that there was a political incentive to cover up widespread Somali fraud. Is that right?
100%.
Got it. Let me ask all three of you. Did the Walz administration and Democrats intentionally, in your opinion, overlook this fraud while it was happening for political gain? I'll start with you, Ms. Robbins.
Absolutely. We have credible whistleblower reports that the Department of Human Services administration up to the OIG and the commissioner met with a group called the Minnesota Minority Child Care Association multiple times, and that they were trying to weaken protections. We wanted, we had several changes we wanted to do, and they opposed all of them.
And Mr. Hudson and Ms. Rarick, and then my time is up.
I would agree.
Absolutely. The whistleblowers confirm it.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Let me fix that for you guys. We lost the audio for a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I have prepared some remarks that I definitely want to get to about the importance of childcare funding for all of us in all of our districts. I think we all recognize that we are in a childcare crisis. We have lost so many parents, especially women, from the workforce because they just cannot find adequate childcare. But I have to start by addressing some of what we have heard in this committee so far today. I didn't get myself together to ask any of my colleagues to yield to a question. So I'll ask you, and if you don't know the answer, it's okay, I do. What percent of sexual assaults in the United States are committed by white men?
I do not know.
57%. Of the January 6th insurrectionists who were pardoned, do you know how many have been charged and convicted and arrested of additional crimes, including child sexual assault, kidnapping, production of child pornography, rape, conspiracy to murder an FBI agent, domestic violence by strangulation.
I do not have that information.
No, 33 since their pardons. Of the 21,504 murder offenders in the United States in 2023, do you know how many were white?
No.
8,842, which is 41%. Following the domestic extremist tracker that GEW compiles, since 2015, there have been 643 individuals charged, 447% found guilty. Do you know how many are men?
You tell me.
95%. We can trot out all of the data that we want to create the sense that there is a bad guy. There is a bad group of people. There are folks who are not among us. There are folks who are other. And I think we should spend a lot more time looking at ourselves, looking at American citizens, looking at white men who are committing violence at disproportionate rates in our country, who are committing crimes at disproportionate rates in our country, including the President of the United States, who is sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, as so many of my colleagues have pointed out. I also want to say, I've heard a lot about the Somali donors to political campaigns. We all acknowledge, right, that you cannot donate to a political campaign in the United States unless you are an American citizen, right? I'm just going to acknowledge that.
Meanwhile, back in the real world, guys.
Get back! Right in the face! Get back! Fuck off! All that video! You fucking someone else! Kill someone else! Kill someone else! Go another way! Move! Go another way! Move! Go another way! Behind us! Move! Move! Fuck! Nice fucking move! Get out of the way! Get out! Chris, get out the way! Get out the way of the truck! Move! Move! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Nazis! 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 Nazi! Nazi! Hold on, wait. Back memories. Get the fuck out of our city! Get the fuck out of our city! Go the fuck out! We will kill! Terrorist tower motherfuckers, get the fuck out of our city.
Get the fuck out of this neighborhood. We don't want you here. Everyone hates you. We all fucking hate you. Go the fuck out.
I want to jump in here. I want to ask you where you're at right now. We're seeing the images on the screen. There's that flag you were talking about being burned here. What kind of things are they shouting? The crowd that's out there. I know they're obviously not happy ICE is there. They've been talking about that. What are they saying? You know, what's the energy like where you are right now?
So that's one reason why I'm not getting too close so I can hear all of you, because it is loud out here. It's profanities, a lot of profanities against ICE.
I want to jump in here. I want to ask you where you're at right now. And we're seeing the images on the screen. There's that flag you were talking about.
Government. And I think what we're seeing come from what we're hearing from the Homeland Security and the federal government is they want to spin this story. It's a propaganda. They want to make it seem like that what they did isn't exactly what people are seeing with their own eyes in this video. We saw a murder happen in our streets and a federal agent take out a U.S. citizen who wasn't doing anything except driving by and getting away from the situation. And so what we're seeing is this situation continuously escalate as we've been saying over the last few weeks.
She was just driving by on a weekday afternoon. She was on her way to pick her kids up from the daycare. That's all it was. She was just on her way to pick her kids up from a Somali daycare, guys. It's totally a misunderstanding.
Investigation into these fraud allegations is far from over, but sources are telling Fox again this morning that now that Governor Tim Walz says he's not going to run for re-election, the feds are also shifting their focus to the state's Attorney General, Keith Ellison. Why? Because a newly obtained clip by Fox that we just got yesterday, that was from 2021, has Ellison meeting in this recording with a group of people who are asking for his help. The problem is those people, you guys, were then just days later arrested for one of the biggest fraud scandals in the state. Watch.
The only way we can protect what we have is by inserting ourselves into the political arena, putting our votes where it needs to be, but most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates that will fight to protect our interests.
That's right.
You can only protect our interests when we have your back, and you don't have to worry about who's behind you.
So now officials are saying, why was Ellison meeting with this group in the first place? They were asking him to help them get more federal funding, offering votes and campaign donations for support. So the audio clip's part of an ongoing investigation into the widespread fraud across the state. Ellison's office sharing an op-ed that he wrote in the local paper. He said, in part, I took a meeting in good faith with people I didn't know, and some turned out to have done bad things. I did nothing for them and took nothing from them. But documents obtained by the Center for the American Experiment say some of those non-convicted Somali fraudsters that he met with donated money to Ellison's campaign after that meeting. It's money, though, he did later give back once this group was indicted, according to reports. So there's just so many levels of this fraud that's been going on for years, according to officials. Fox obtained that full, nearly 1 hour-long clip of the meeting with the lawyer of Amy Bach. For people wondering who that is there on your screen, she's the Minnesota woman who was one of many convicted last year in that $250 million Feeding Our Future scam. That's how this all started with Bach. She's behind bars, though, but her legal team tells me, where's the accountability for the governor and the attorney general? He said the state let the fraud happen. Do you think some of these politicians should be held accountable?
I would like to see someone in the state. I don't care whether it's the governor. I don't care whether it's the attorney general.
Stop Stuff is going down in Minneapolis right now. There's more about Nick Allison.
Not that fraud is not a
Keith
problem.
Ellison.
Of course it is a problem. And of course we have to prosecute it. And of course we have been prosecuting it. But
Have
what
you
they're
done
trying to do
enough,
is
General, to do so? I mean, one of the claims is that there has been hundreds of millions of dollars, but now there are some estimates that there could be $9 billion or more. And Noam was just suggesting they took hundreds of people off the street who were involved in fraud. Are you confident your office has done enough?
Of course, we've done enough, and we're doing more every single day. This is a political matter. This is not a serious thing. And I tell you,
Not that serious, he tells me. Meanwhile, on the ground in the Somali daycare.
Can't pay for the gas bill. We have nothing coming in. We can all feed them. We'll keep them. We're not going to just because of what's going on. And even my mom was telling them right now, a good 3+ families left us because they're like, they didn't leave, but they're like, hey, what's going on? Our children are like, why would they go home at night? Hey, mom, we see cameras at work. Hey, mom, we see people shouting at the drive. With our buses outside, there's legit people that are like snacking the cars with like
I just want to ask you, grown adults. We're talking about little babies, little toddlers in here. There's even more kids downstairs. So this is, you told me the other day, but this is like the younger kids. This is the toddler class. Yep. This is the toddler classroom. Next door is preschool. Next door is infant. Downstairs. Things like that. No, big shit. It's not small. I'm not gonna lie, if I was a kid, this would be a bit. I don't know if you ever, like, this is
They finally got some kids in there, y'all. It took them like a week, but they finally got kids in the daycare. Them Somali babies grow up really quickly.
Can I see your ID? Why the hell would I show random people my ID? You want to steal my identity? Where's your ID? Let me check if you're a U.S. citizen. How about that? Man, you guys better move on, man. Look at this motherfucker. A4. What kind of name is that? Alcohol 4? What's your initial? Right here. It ain't over there. You motherfucker buy this shit. Why would I answer you? Why would I not be a citizen of this country, man? Are you a citizen? Why are you getting close? I can hear you. You can stand there. How come she got a GoPro and you got your a police issued body cam? What's going on with you guys? Why do I have what kind of shit is this? Dude, listen, I'm here working. You're working too, right? So go. It says U.S. Border Patrol. This is not the border. Go to the Canada border or the Mexico border.
The border is wherever I pull this badge out, pussy. That's where the border is. The border is wherever I pull this goddamn badge out.
If you were from this country, dude. If you were from this country, you know I'm an immigration officer. What do you mean if I'm from this country? I can hear you don't have the same accent as me. That's why I'm asking. Oh, so you're going by accents now? I want to know where you were born. Where were you born? Is that accents? Have you heard the Israeli accent? Have you heard the European accent? You just proved garbage. My point. You're a brilliant man. Retarded, you just proved my point.
Does he have an Israeli accent? Is that what he's trying to tell me?
I want to know where you were born. Where were you born? Is that accents? Have you heard the Israeli accent? Have you heard the European accent? You just proved garbage. My point. You're a brilliant man. It's retarded, dude. You just proved my point. You go by accents? You just proved other countries. You guys want to argue? I got time. I got time today. You're not arguing. You're proving my point. Today, man. Thank you, sir. You guys do whatever you want to do. Where's your ID, sir? I'm not going to show you. I don't have to show you anything. If a police officer comes here, I'll comply with it. But U.S. Border Patrol, I don't even know if you're a real police officer. Where's your ID? But you just said it. Where's your ID? You just said it.
I don't think he understands. This can only end one way for him. I would be shocked and disappointed if he doesn't get snatched out of his car at the end of this, because how else do you get out of this, bro? This is like any other traffic stop with law enforcement. If you're not going to produce your ID, at some point, they're just going to put hands on you, bro. There's no other way this can play out. They have to put hands on you.
And I'm not going to go by C20. That's a periodic chemical. That's a periodic element. C20?
Did he just say that's a periodic element? This nigga quoting the periodicals? Not a periodic element, bro. What are we even talking about? He said that's a periodic element.
How do it equivalate?
So where's your ID?
But you just said it.
Where's your ID?
You just said it.
And I'm not going to go by
I'm
C20.
wearing my
That's a periodic chemical.
I'm
That's a
wearing my
periodic element. C20?
I'm
What are
wearing
you,
my
carbon
ID.
20?
No, cesium, bitch. Cesium. That's why we here. We're cesium Somalia niggas. We are the cesium police, bro.
Just said it.
Where's your ID?
You just said it.
And I'm not going to go by
I'm
C20.
wearing my
That's a periodic chemical.
I'm
That's a
wearing my
periodic element. C20?
I'm
What are
wearing
you,
my
carbon
ID.
20?
I'm wearing my ID.
Mills C20. I said, why you walking away, Mills? Come back. Hey, Mills, come back. Mills, come back. Come back. No, hell no. Why would I come there? You come here.
Man, shut
You
up.
came to my car. I'm chilling on my social
Man,
media.
shut
This
up.
lady comes knocking, sir. You know Mexican. And it's a shame. You ain't even got a camera on. You got the police camera. Yeah, you got a nice camera.
Yeah.
You guys just shot somebody now. Who else you guys want to do? That ain't you guys? It wasn't ICE? That wasn't ICE? Can't read? My nigga. Whoa. Come on now. Harassing Africans. You guys got the right guy, man. I got the time today.
Please, I hope to God he gets thrown on the pavement hard.
So you're from
Mr. Mills,
Africa?
Mr. Mills.
So you're from Africa?
Where you from, Mr. Mills, with your big ass body? Where you from?
Big ass body.
Yeah.
That's a strange
All of these other
compliment.
motherfuckers small, man. Look at your offices. Hey, the famous guy.
Yeah, these Somalis, they all weigh like 112 pounds max, man. You almost never ever see a fat Somali, by the way. Like, it's almost impossible. It's not even in their genetics to get fat.
I've seen this guy on TikTok. Look at it. He got gas canisters and shit. What's up, officer? How you doing, man? Let me talk to you guys. You doing all right today? What's up, man? You doing all right? I seen you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, with the soundtrack and everything. These guys, your office is coming over here harassing the hell out of me. This guy's saying, no, he said, because I got an accent.
Yeah, and you said everyone from other countries.
Yeah, have you seen the European accent, brother? It's worse than
Thank you
mine.
so much.
I know you guys can understand my English. I got an accent. I know that. I'm black too.
Hey, I've got an accent.
Yeah, you got a.
Oh, now he's black too. Now he's black too.
Toby be good nigga for massa. Good nigga. Don't send Toby away.
Now all of a sudden he a black.
Busted accent.
Oh,
which is
man.
crazy. I do. What's going on, guys?
You said I have an
here.
accent.
Homeland Security in person. The big boss over here.
What's going on?
Niggas harassing people. Are we in Germany now?
Come on.
What do you guys want to do today? You guys want to take me in or something?
You're running it right now. It depends. Are you an illegal alien?
Illegal alien, man. I feel like I'm from another planet. Yes. I might
You
be
are?
from another planet.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
if that's the case.
Yo, these foreigners are ruining the race card, man. All these foreigners, all these other people, these nons, they're all ruining the race card. Black America, we had a nice thing going here. We really did. We had a nice thing going. White man was feeling bad about all the shit he used to do. Niggas was getting good jobs with the government. We had a nice thing going. And now you're letting all these immigrants ruin the race card. The race card is over now. It's because of these immigrant niggas.
If you're from another planet, that counts too.
Well, if that counts, well, I'm an alien, guys. Let's do DNA tests and shit. You got a lab? We can run some blood tests and see what that shit is. Yeah.
Hey, I shaved too.
I mean, yours,
Yours is prettier than mine.
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Mr. Mills. Mr. C20, cup on 20. And alcohol 5 over here. I go by A3. Nice to meet you. Man, isn't this crazy though? You guys are doing a crazy job going everywhere. You literally
appreciate that.
That's crazy.
Yes.
But the thing is, you just going off the wrong shit. You got to find the criminals, man, not the people working. This is an Uber waiting lot. We're literally working. You know, I've been here since. Look, criminals doing Uber?
Oh yeah.
That's not how it works, brother. Maybe criminals are doing ICE. How about that? You know what I'm saying? You guys shooting at people, man. Somebody just got shot for what? Why did you guys shoot that lady? Answer me that. There's an officer today that shot a lady in the head, dude. For what?
I don't know why they do the head, man.
You got all these stuff. You could have just got her, man. She's not gonna like fly out of the country like an alien with a spaceship.
With a spaceship.
Yeah, it is what it is, guys. What you guys want to do? Literally the head of all of these guys is literally here, man.
What do we got to do with Uber rights?
And because you know there's a bunch of hardworking Somalians here. You guys is coming to terrorize them, man. Why are you guys acting like terrorists?
Terrorists. I think your idea of terrorism.
Every person here is working. Uber, if you don't have an app, if Uber didn't verify you, if your app is not active, you cannot be here working. Do you know that?
Does Uber verify citizenship or
dude, I don't work for Uber in that capacity. They're literally pimping me out too.
Oh, now you don't know. I thought you knew everything about Uber policy. Now I don't know. I don't work for them in that capacity.
Dude, they make sure that you're safe. They do a background check. They just don't. They just don't give you the app access immediately. They run the background check. So
that's great.
Yeah. You guys coming here pissing in our little porta potties, man. Just taking over everything.
But you
Shalkaaga haddaan raaco maalin kastaba saa carruurtaada beri la qabanaa alla ayaa tahay come on my nigga ilaahay ka cabso just fear God don't fear this uniform.
Oh, well. Okay. All right. Kid? Good? Also, all right, let's go. Hey, guys, zone 4, okay? See you guys.
They look like you're letting us one.
1014.
It's
What's that?
B?
No. Relax, bro. I know how to spell.
Okay.
I actually have an engineering degree. You know that? And
No, I don't know, but
He's a goddamn engineer. No way. Doctors and engineers, every one of them.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Listen,
But you said
let's
no,
not
but it's not
talk to
it's
each
a
other in a
zero.
retarded way. You want to have a conversation like a normal person?
Yeah, sure.
I can talk to you like a
Absolutely.
normal. I'm a fucking engineer, graduated from Washington State University.
That's great.
$70,000 student loans.
That
I got-
sucks.
and I'm doing Uber. You know what that means? I'd rather make an honest day's living. I don't go harassing people at work, dude. What the hell is that?
If you have an engineer,
Bro,
you go be an engineer. I don't understand.
all of you guys need psychiatric checkups. This is not normal. Why do you go to people's workplaces to harass them?
All right. Have a good day,
Yeah,
sir.
go with C61.
You're a cougar?
Man, R56, man. Fuck off.
Have a good day, sir.
Get out of here, man. Get a better name. R56, what the fuck is that? Yeah, that's a shitty ass initial, man. Get out of here.
All right, sir. We're sorry the
I'm gonna go back to Twitter to watch the lady that you guys just shot up. What the fuck is that? You guys just shot some lady, man. Dumbass.
Lights out now!
hurting and I get why you guys are mad. Well, do something. Why you guys are mad. We're out here doing something. Don't talk about it. Officer fucking reason. Officer reason. If you can just get back to 33rd.
Jesus Christ.
Stay back behind the line.
Flying by me, so I'm like, something's happening over here. So.
And what did you
I'm
see
just
exactly
shaking.
yourself?
I didn't witness, but I talked to several people that witnessed it, and they heard the gunshot. And the one guy said that they reached for her door handle, and then she took off, and then he shot her through the windshield and shot her in the face. So they're taking her on the corner there by ambulance right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
The sidewalk, eh? The sidewalk, eh? She owns this. This is on. You guys are
I do what I want. Hey, I do what I want. Hey, everybody. This is Chad. We're out here in Columbus, Ohio. We're obviously doing Operation Somali Buckeye. And we were driving down the road. We saw this guy sitting out here with fuck ICE sign. And the other side says ICE Nazi. And I'm not real familiar with ICE doing a whole bunch of big operations here. We wanted to come down and talk to him. He said, you said, fuck you, right? Fuck you, right? You didn't want to talk to us? That's fine. So we're on a public sidewalk. So we just wanted to show that this guy's motivated. He obviously doesn't want ICE here. I wanted to ask some questions in regards to ICE and maybe talk about the Somali fraud that we're uncovering through Operation Somali Buckeye. He doesn't want to talk to us. Now he's running. See, this is the thing. What's the concept of protest if you're not going to have a conversation? You're out here wanting attention, but when attention is brought, you tell me to go fuck myself and leave. These are the things that don't make sense to most of us. And at the end of the day, it's up to us to stand in the breach and go out there and ask these questions. I didn't do anything to the man. I just told him I'm independent and I would like to talk to him about why he's carrying a sign. This is the stupidity of this entire movement. You want to fuck ICE, but you don't want to talk about it. You want to protest, but you don't want to talk to the people that are getting your message out. This is where the left is failing us in every way, shape, or form, and the rhinos like you, Governor DeWine.
Minnesota's fraud story went national. Governor Tim Walz announced he's no longer seeking a third term, and the White House confirmed that federal investigators are all over the state of Minnesota. So naturally, people are starting to ask themselves, how did it take this long? Today, I want to provide some insight into that. I'm not here to make new accusations or to spread rumors, but I want to explain why some of the most serious allegations in modern Minnesota history continue to struggle to see the light of day. I'm Walter Hudson. I'm a state representative in Minnesota, and I sit on the House Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight Committee. And I'm coming to you today from Washington, D.C., where tomorrow I'll testify before the House Oversight Committee regarding the rampant fraud which has taken place in Minnesota. I've had a front row seat to these issues for years, and I want to be very clear about something at the outset. There's a difference between proven facts, unproven claims, and institutional failure. If we blur those lines, we lose credibility, and accountability becomes elusive. So let's start with what's not in dispute. Minnesota has experienced massive multi-program fraud across childcare, food programs, autism services, housing stabilization, and much more. There are already dozens of federal convictions. Programs were paused, warned about, and then restarted anyway. This is not a theory. This is a documented failure of oversight. So why didn't this story break sooner, especially when people were raising alarms years ago? Well, here's the uncomfortable answer. Our system punishes the first person who moves without airtight proof. Journalists need documents, not testimony. Prosecutors need admissible evidence, not just patterns. And legislators and executives can't act on rumor without violating due process. So everyone waits for someone else to go first. Silence isn't always a conspiracy. Sometimes it's just institutional paralysis. Several journalists have now said versions of the same thing. They've said pieces of this story were visible, but the story itself was hard to tell. Why? Because when allegations involve identity, race, immigration status, and political power all at once, the evidentiary bar doesn't just rise, it becomes a wall. You have to have.
Everybody's frozen because nobody wants to be called racist. This shit's kind of lame, actually. It's getting old. I'm going to be glad when the race card finally expires and we can just get some things done. You know, imagine all the cool shit we can get done once the race card expires. Stuff like this, y'all.
Keep telling him, Mike, he's very real. But they still need his ID. Look at this shit, y'all. Stop! Stop! Oh my God! Yeah, fucking stop! I'm trying to force this man and let y'all take him somewhere. No, y'all stop it! Y'all stop it!
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Get back!
Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Get back! Get back!
Holy shit, he just pushed me.
And that's what happens when you show up to a daycare in Ohio.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Get back!
Don't touch me!
Get
Don't
back!
touch
Get
me!
back! Get back!
Holy shit, he just pushed me. I'm
And
calling the police.
wait, don't call
Did
police.
you see that?
Yeah. All right. So the heck, what just happened?
He just freaking pushed me. I just walked in there and he just started pushing me and screaming, "Get back!" I'm calling the police.
As you can see, folks, all we did was go in. We were going to ask some questions. And we were attacked here at Jubba Daycare, 614-269-7042, right here in Columbus. All we did was walk in the door. You saw the man come out. He grabbed a hold of Mehek, tried pushing her, and that's how fast things happen. That's how screwed up this place is right now, is these people are all about being violent. We didn't do anything wrong. It's a business. It's right here.
Hey, I just got a confirmation. Let me share something with you guys. We just got confirmation on the actual woman. Miss Renee Good, apparently a married lesbian, was behind the wheel and was struck by gunfire from the ICE agents earlier today. Of course, it's a liberal white woman.
Make it stop. Make the hurt stop, please. Like.
Are you guys open? Yeah. I just had a couple questions about enrolling. If you had a form and just pricing for this.
Oh, no, I don't have the form. The director, she's already gone.
Okay. What time do you usually open and close?
6:30 to 5.
Okay, so you're open right now?
Yeah.
But you don't have anybody who can speak to me about just
As far as giving you
forms and
yeah.
stuff? Okay.
She already left for the day.
Okay. All right. Are you open Monday through Friday or
Yes.
weekends as well?
Monday through Friday.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Where we just spoke to somebody in this place, and she stated they are open, but there is nobody. I mean, nobody here. One person, and said the director left for the day. And this place, what did she say? Monday to Friday?
They're open from Monday through Friday. I think the most troubling part about this is they have 2 buses parked out front.
There's no children in there that we could hear or see. She said the director left at 3 p.m. She doesn't know any rates. And on the front door, it says no longer accepting debit or credit cards. They're only accepting money order, cash, or check. And then they have a Post-it and a mobile sign-in sheet outside their door, which means that as a parent, you could come in and mobily sign in your child, but never actually physically go in the building. Ask yourself, that's a loophole for fraud, alleged fraud, right? I could say I'm taking my children to this daycare. I can use my phone outside the facility. I'm not even entering the facility. I mean, that's a red flag. So we have to continue to ask these questions and change the audit process in Ohio. That's unacceptable.
And what's the name of this place?
This is called Kids World, and it's received over
$850,000.
$850,000, so nearly $1 million of taxpayer funded.
That's your money. Make it make sense.
Guys, you know what? I'm gonna wrap this one up. We're gonna come back a little bit later, maybe tomorrow morning, with some more updates on the Somali thing. There's a lot happening right now. There's a lot of stories going around. Shout out to Dick Thug with that 5-ball. He says, do you think they should hit gas stations next? I wish they would, but I know gas stations are protected. That's like that H-1B shit. Gas stations got the golden pass, bro. But I wish they would hit them damn gas stations, man.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
But guys, we're going to get up out of here. I will catch you guys in the morning. We're going to have an update, see what's happening overnight in Minneapolis. We might be on Civil War terms by tomorrow. Tim's calling up his National Guard. You guys, we never know. Shit's getting crazy out there, but I'll catch you guys in the morning.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.